Alright, so now that Chapter 3 and 4 are out, I'm sure it's safe to say that we all know who the Roaring Knight is, right?
Duh, it's Papyrus.
Oh no. So, the newest Deltarune chapters have finally released, and they're fantastic. So good that I ended up staying up until 6 2 nights in a row just because I couldn't put them down. But by far, one of the highlights of both chapters was the first appearance of the Roaring Knight, the antagonist that we've been hearing about since the game's first chapter, which was only... oh dear god, that was 7 years ago. Anyways, the Knight completely lived up to the hype, and by that I mean it instantly soloed me. And although its identity hasn't been confirmed, the moment I saw it I had a pretty solid idea of their identity. Or so I thought. When I finally beat Chapter 4 and didn't have to worry about spoilers, I opened Twitter only to see that people actually have a lot of different theories as to who the Knight might be. I had another video script practically fully finished, but I ended up getting a lot more motivation to make this one. So today I wanted to cover the strongest theories about the Knight's true identity over the years and my thoughts on them. With that out of the way, and a quick spoiler warning, let's get right into my first suspect so we can figure out just who is the Roaring Knight. Starting off strong, the first suspect I've seen thrown around is Kris, the game's protagonist. Now let me start by saying that Kris has, got some issues. Not only do they seem to be fully aware of the fact that we control them, but they actively fight against us, especially in Chapter 4 where they separate us from their body to go answer a mysterious phone call and drink some chocolate milk. And the cherry on top of it all is that, as you just saw in the clip I played, Kris fully willingly created Chapter 3's Dark Fountain, and it seems like they don't plan on stopping anytime soon. We don't have much information on the Knight, but we do know that they aim to bring what's called the Roaring by creating as many fountains as they can to cover the world in darkness. So yeah, when Chapter 2 ended with that scene, and we were left on a cliffhanger for 4 years, it's no shock that people suspected Kris of being the Knight. I mean, look at them. They're literally a Knight, it doesn't get more on the nose than that. Sadly though, despite knowing plenty of Kris Knight truthers, the new chapters confirm that's not the case. They butt heads with the Knight at the end of Chapter 3 and plenty of times throughout Chapter 4. This doesn't mean they're in the clear though. They've definitely got something going on, and almost seem like they're cooperating with the Knight without the player's knowledge. In Chapter 3, after beating the party, the Knight will slice Susie and Ralsei without hesitation, but when it gets to Kris, all it does is gently tap their shoulder. There are even some extra interactions for players who end up being a bit too good at the game. If you no-hit the Knight, Kris will actually cough and tell them to wrap it up. And in Chapter 4, even if you somehow dodge their attacks in the beginning, when Kris reaches them, they'll refuse to fight. Who knows? Maybe that animation at the end of the fight was actually Kris being knighted, and I'll eat my words. But as it stands, no matter how suspicious Kris is, there's no way that they're the Knight. Still, I figured it was an important angle to cover first, considering how strong the theory was before the release of these chapters. Now that I've fully debunked it, I'm going to go over some quick, honourable mentions before getting to the two strongest contenders in my eyes. Trust me, they're honourable mentions for a reason. I don't have much to say about them. One theory I've seen a few people bring up is that the Roaring Knight is... Papyrus? There's not exactly much evidence to cover for this one, but bear with me. From Deltarune's first chapter, it's clear that something is going on with Papyrus. We just don't exactly know what. He's weirdly absent despite every other major Undertale character showing up, and Sans mentions plenty of times that his little brother needs some friends. If you interact with their house, some chapters hint that he might be home and others show that he's not even present there. Whatever the case, Papyrus is missing, despite being a fan favourite character, and we've got no idea why. The only connection I've heard between the two other than that is that the Knight's body is kind of in the shape of Papyrus's armour, if you squint. And yeah, that's kind of it. To be honest, I could have skipped this section entirely, but this gif alone made me know I had to put it in. Bring him back, Toby. I miss him. Next, Another I've seen is... Rudy? This guy? Moving on. Our last honourable mention is Mr. Mystery himself, W.D. Gaster. Why? Well, you see, the knight has holes in its hands, like Gaster, and... Okay, yeah, that's it. Gaster has probably been the most mysterious character in Deltarune since the day it launched. Actually, no, since Undertale launched. It's been 10 long years since we first found out about the guy, and what do I know about him? Absolutely nothing. I'm sure if I really locked in on all community theories and every tidbit of hidden lore behind a website, I'd know a tiny bit more. But honestly, if Toby wanted players to know this stuff, it'd be in the game already. I'm more than happy to wait until then. So yes, Gaster is mysterious, and a lot of Deltarune fans tend to jump and shout his name the second something confusing or dark happens. But no, he's not the knight. Now that these fantastic ideas have been covered, I can get into the pair of theories that made me really want to make this video. I was sold on one at first, and frankly I kind of thought the other one was really stupid. But the more I hear, I'm starting to think they're equally likely. Let's talk about the Ice Queen herself. I'll be real, when I finally reopened Twitter and saw people with full confidence say Carol was the knight, I was kind of mind blown. I was almost certain that my own theory was practically confirmed, so I didn't expect to see that people had almost the opposite takeaway. But honestly, I've looked into it, and I think Carol is a pretty solid candidate. There's so much potential evidence that I feel like it's gotta be intentional at this point. First off, one of the first things I noticed about the knight is the fact that not only does it have very prominent antlers, but when it roars, its head shifts to the shape of a deer skull. I think it'd be ridiculous if this thing weren't from the Holiday family. When it comes to Carol specifically, she's got plenty of evidence pointed her way too. Like for starters, the giant sword in her kitchen. Trust me, I've fought the knight plenty of times. Whoever they are very good with a sword. Plus, at the end of chapter 3, we find out that the knight took Officer Undyne to the mysterious bunker at the bottom of Hometown. Conveniently, Alphys tells us at the beginning of chapter 4 that the only two people in town that should have access to the bunker are Carol Holiday and Officer Undyne herself. Lastly, I mentioned earlier that Kris seems to be working with a suspicious voice on the phone. In chapter 4, this voice seems to have the same motivations as the knight, wanting to prevent Susie from accessing the bunker and rescuing Officer Undyne. I don't exactly agree with the idea that this voice is the knight, solely because I think it would be stupid for something this awesome and mysterious to use an iPhone. Anyways, when Susie gets her hands on the guitar hiding the bunker's code, the voice says, "I'll be right there." Surprise, surprise, guess who's come home from work early? Carol. On top of it all though, Carol is, plain and simple, a bad guy. I mean, look at her. The woman is cartoonishly evil. I could go on about smaller details, like how the knight is left-handed and Carol's sword is apparently placed the way you'd place your kitchen katana if you were left-handed, but we'd be here all day. At the end of it all, Carol has definitely got something up her sleeve. She's working with Kris, which means she's more than likely on the knight's side. But I don't think that means she's the knight. From the first moment I saw them, I've been almost certain that the knight is another member of the Holiday family. I wasn't joking when I said that the Carol Knight theories had me shocked, because I would be willing to put actual money on the fact that the knight is December. Yes, the first thing I noticed was the knight's antlers and its head becoming a deer's skull, but there's one important detail that I haven't mentioned yet. As the knight summons its weapon, before taking the shape of a sword, it seems to look like a baseball bat. There are numerous lines of dialogue that refer to Des using a wiffle ball bat. You can even find one in her room when we finally get the chance to explore it in chapter 4. And when you consider the idea that Des could be the knight, the deer's skull imagery suddenly gets a bit darker. From what I'm aware, there isn't much information on Des. We know she's Noelle's sister, and like Noelle, was close with the Dreamer family, but those are only basic details. We don't know anything about her story, why she's not here, but the one thing that's been drilled into our heads over and over? Das is a lost girl. It's the name of her motif, the same motif we hear everywhere throughout Chapter 3 and 4. Whatever happened to Das, it's been set up to be tragic. As far back as Chapter 2, we see that even the word December in a spelling bee shut Noelle down entirely. The whole Holiday family seem to avoid talking about her existence. Her room remains untouched, and Noelle seems terrified of even entering it. We don't know why the Dreamer and Holiday kids drifted apart, but it's almost certainly got to do with whatever happened to Das. Some even think that this was the start of the issues in the Dreamer family, considering how close the two were. I'm confident that Das is the Roaring Knight. I have no idea how, I don't even know if she's alive or somehow been brought back from the dead, but I think that she's the one who we've been up against in the latest chapters. It would explain why Kris is seemingly cooperated with and dealt with a lot less harshly, but even more importantly, it would explain why Carol was suspicious enough to be considered the Knight herself. Carol has been shown to be cold, but she isn't heartless. I still think that she's the voice on the phone, and that she's got some sort of involvement in the opening of these fountains and the bunker mystery as a whole, but I don't think she's actually the one behind them. We can't know anything for certain until the next chapter's release, but my best bet right now is that in her eyes, her daughter has somehow returned. Her lost girl was found, and she'll do anything she can to give her what she needs, hoping that maybe she'll be here to stay. Oh, also, in Chapter 4 we see the Knight in the Dark World while Carol is still at home, so unless she can teleport, I think it's like almost impossible that this is her. Plus, she's a middle-aged mom, there is no way she kicked my ass that hard. So, yeah. Those are the strongest theories for the Roaring Knight's identity that I've seen over the years. All of my bets are on its true identity being December, even if I think the Carol theory has a little weight to it. If anything, I think that there's too much proof for that not to be intentional. Both Das and Carol being left-handed like the Knight, Carol for some reason owning a giant sword, I think it was definitely intended for fans to be torn between these two options. For all I know though, I've missed something major. I'm not the most die-hard lore hunter in the world, so let me know your own theories in the comments. And if there's any proof towards the Knight's identity that I've missed, make sure to say so. This has been May is Radical, thank you for watching, and I swear to God, if the Knight turns out to be Rudy, I'm going to scream.